Hi, and welcome to the show. I am so glad that you're here, and I hope you will be too, because today we have a special guest, and he's going to tell a heartwarming and sometimes hilarious uh, story. Take us through the journey of his life of health, challenging challenges, healing, and all the above. And as you can tell, I am still my heart is still full after having time to hear his story, experience the ups and downs. But before we bring Dr. Austin Nation on to be with us during this time, I like, as always, to invite you to join me in just a brief centering exercise. It'll take about a minute, and it's an opportunity to bring us to the present, close the doors on any of the distractions that were happening before we tuned in, and just give ourselves a gift just to be present and to just hear and experience the story. Okay, so we're going to do heart math, heart focused breathing. And you've done it with me before if you've been here at least once. And so I invite you to lower your gaze or close your eyes just softly. Just lower your gaze and close your eyes. And what we're going to do is breathe in through the nose slowly and then out through the mouth slowly. Okay, and then just follow me, okay? So with your eyes softly closed or lowered, here we go. Breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your mouth slowly. And then on the next breath, I'd like you to imagine that your heart is taking the breath. So when you breathe in, your heart's going to get bigger. And then when you breathe out, your heart is going to get smaller. And in this way, we're activating the heart's intelligence, and that intelligence can serve to calm us down and relax us. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose again, and your heart's getting bigger. Yes, and then out through your mouth, your heart is contracting. And do it one more time on your own. And remember, you can do this anytime, anywhere. You don't even have to close your eyes. It's a self-soothing way to relax yourself. Okay? All right. So thank you so much. You can gently open your eyes now. And you are just in time. If you've just tuned in, my name is Dr. Paulina Van, and I've just led us through a brief centering exercise to kind of relax us and bring our focus to this time. And you're just in time to introduce my very special guest, Dr. Austin Nation. So I am going to bring him in. Austin, hello.
Hello. It's good to be here with you.
Well, I'm telling you, I am so excited about you being here. And as you came onto the screen, you just brought this light. That smile of yours just brings this light. So our viewers are in for something special. And I hope you are too.
Thank you.
Yes. So, they want to hear you. They don't want to hear me. So why don't we just tune in to you? And let me show you this. I want to show you this photo. And I'd like you to begin your story, if you might, just telling us a little bit about this Raymond Austin Nation Jr. And then I have a few prompts to kind of guide you through your story. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. So These are two of my favorite pictures. Probably the only two pictures I could retrieve from my childhood in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I share in my story the autobiographical play that I've been sort of touring the country with, so to speak. We were off Broadway. Now we're back here. We're about to do a show here at Cal State Fullerton in Orange County, California. And then I'm taking the show up to Northern California, Becoming Austin Nation from crack to PhD, a drag queen story. And I start by talking about my humble beginnings in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, growing up in what looks like a picture perfect family, except my father's missing. So, divorced family, both parents were alcoholics, which created some drama in the household from early on because my dad was one of those fathers that wouldn't come around when he said he was going to come around, and when he would come around, him and my mom would fight and carry on. So, and I have such vivid memories of that drama that would happen on a regular basis in our home. My mom was good about trying to keep up appearances, being that she was twice divorced, but in reality, there was a lot of beatings and punishment and a whole lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. A little bit of a crazy woman growing up. It was kind of rough go, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact, for me, as I kept growing up, that I reminded her somehow of my father, and she hated that. And so it was very painful for me as the only boy in this family with three girls. I always say, oh, I felt like I was just kind of one of the girls, as I say. I didn't know exactly how to fit into that picture. There were no male role models or guys around that would show me sort of the ropes on how to become a man, quote unquote. Had to figure out a lot of stuff myself, it felt like, in terms of that. And I missed that, honestly. I felt like there was something that I could have benefited by having some male role models around. We moved at age 10 out to California, to Long Beach, and Long Beach, California, and it didn't get much better. But the crowd we kept, my sisters kept, were gang members, Bloods and Crips. That was what that was around our household in Long Beach. Our mom was in welfare housing, low income. She was mostly at the bar next door. She was not around that much, and we kind of ran wild, me and my baby sister, getting in all sorts of trouble, stealing for food and things like that. It was really a rough go, and so I felt like we raised ourselves, so to speak, with very little guidance, parental guidance. It was rough. Like I said, being in a household of a parent who's alcoholic and absent. I think she did the best she can. I like to think, but I miss out. I honestly miss out when I hear people talk about, a mother's love, right, and how powerful that should be. Like, I'm at a loss for understanding what that feels like. What that's like. I feel like for me, I got most of that from my older sister. She was the one that was around that gave me most of that voice in my head. I wouldn't be where I am today without her, without a doubt. She was that voice for me. And so even as I talked about as a young boy wanting to become a nurse, I was following in the footsteps of her and also my grandmother, who were nurses, and felt like it was a calling for me. I just felt like that was a thing that I wanted to do. And lucky I had them go before me and create an opportunity for me to be able to explore that. And sort of the rest is history.
Well, and I'd like to revisit the power and influence of your sister a little later when we talk about your healing, because she was such, I shouldn't say was, is such an important part of your support system. So can we just go back a little bit? I'd like you to talk about dress as a kid. You're dressing up, and then as a teenager, or maybe you're still young, drinking and sex. So how did those three elements play a role in your childhood?
Oh, good question.
Mm-hmm.
So the dressing up, I used to I always used to sneak in my mama's closet when she wasn't there and try on stuff, shoes, playing her makeup and stuff like that early on. Didn't know what I was doing then. It just seemed like something to do, seemed like fun. I always felt pretty when I put that stuff on. It was just kind of something fun about playing in her stuff. Um, who would have thought years later that this would have played out the way it has done in my life in terms of now this drag persona that I now have, and where this has gone in terms of my life and my story. But in terms of alcohol for me started much. I think that influence started when my dad was taking us out. When he did take us out, when he would come around to his favorite places, out to the local bars, that exposure to drinking. Around our house there was a bar that was drinking, and I share my story about how I would sneak sips of the different alcohols out of the bar and try all of those different flavors and then fill them back up with water so my mom didn't know I had been in those bottles, right? And remembering how good that alcohol felt as it would go down, because it would change the way I felt. And I would become a little different person. I would seem like I was a little happier, and things would be okay, kind of like okay in the world kind of thing. And I started early with sexual exploration. I go back as probably around before age 10, having little girlfriends back then. As I said, we were supposed to have been being watched by the lady who was watching us. Most of the time, she was up in the house watching soap operas. That's my memory of her, while we were out running wild. And I had little girlfriends, as I say, back in the day, but I share that I also have clear memories of being very attracted to boys and men, a curiosity about that very early on, and not understanding exactly what it was, but there was always this curiosity. I loved having girlfriends and intimate moments with girls back then in exploration, way too young as I look back at the story. And think about my life growing up, because clearly I had already had sex before we even moved out here to California. So that was before age 10. I had already had encounters around sex. And that continued to develop as I moved out here to California. The exploration of that, or sort of being discovered by men, so to speak, in Long Beach. I didn't know, who would have thought Long Beach, California was what I refer to lovingly as a little San Francisco in Southern California. It was gays and old people down there in Long Beach, unbeknownst to me. And growing up in Long Beach, there were a number of gay bars. There were places and spaces I didn't even know about until I got a little bit older, and would find older men would find me, and it would kind of go from there in terms of getting acquainted into that scene a little bit more than I was expecting. And so kind of kicked off there. And so I've always kind of considered myself kind of bisexual. I was dating men and women then. It was kind of sexually fluid. I kind of always said I love who I love, wherever my heart is. But yeah, that's kind of how it kicked off and how it played out. But
all right.
Now I identify as queer, because it's kind of gone from there into some other things that are kind of interesting. I kind of say I love who I love, still say who I love wherever my heart is.
Well, what I know of you, Austin, and we are colleagues. We graduated from the same PhD program. I was a little earlier than you, but we graduated from the same program. And what I do know, and I have always known about you, is that your heart is so big. And yes, you do love unconditionally. So that's what I love about you.
Thank you.
The love that you give. So let's talk about your impetus for drug use, and then your impetus for sobriety. And see, this is where your sister and others come in, which is such a heartwarming story.
Yeah. I started experimenting with drugs early on, like I mentioned. I say officially around age 15, just because I was a sad kid, kind of an awkward kid, didn't quite fit in. I talk about a moment of being very suicidal, mostly around my sexuality and growing up in a family that was very religious. My second oldest sister, I called her a Bible thumper who would tell me things like, I need to get myself right with God or I'm going to hell, and that kind of judgment and condemnation, which really didn't really serve a purpose. You know, um, you know, I mean, I dream in my family of having like unconditional love. Like, wouldn't it have been nice to have had unconditional love in my family? That's the prayer I would put out really for anybody who comes out as different or as queer or as LGBT or non-binary or whatever it may be. But to grow up in a family like I did, where religion and the hypocrisy of religion, let me just be clear, because the way I understand it from my Catholic background to the sort of a liberal, born again Christian I am today, Jesus loved everybody, right? Particularly the marginalized and those on the fringes. And so that's the lens I walk through the world with. And so even those of us, and I found myself I tested HIV positive at age 26. I think that was the big downfall, because my career had just kicked off, and now I got this diagnosis. And back in the 80s, that was around 86 when I got that diagnosis, and it was a very bleak prognosis for most of us that got the diagnosis back then. And I assumed at that point, as my doctor had said, get my affairs in order, that it wasn't going to be too long that I would be on this earth. I mean, my time here was going to be rather limited. And so after doing a number of years of denial, trying the medication, the AZT medication, and seeing that didn't work for me, and decided I was just going to be sort of a no code, to do not resuscitate, and just take whatever came my way in terms of the fate of the whole situation. I went into that season of denial for about 8 years, and then got really sick, and ended up in the hospital with this 50-50 chance of surviving, which I didn't know about till later. But I came out of that going into a season of drug and alcohol addiction, because I thought, well, if I'm sick and I'm going to die, I might as well party my way out. Let's have a good time, as I saw it. Heck, why not? It seemed like a good plan.
Mhm.
I thought, yeah, it was a soft suicide, as I look at it, right? Because of course being Catholic, you can't kill yourself directly. You don't go to heaven, as I see it. And then the other part, being a nurse, I always say, if you don't shoot, if you're going to blow your brains out and don't get it just right, you just end up a vegetable on a ventilator. And clearly, I didn't want that one. So my addiction to me became a 24/7 thing. Addicted to crack and alcohol straight up out of the bottle. As a blackout drinker, and that crack addiction, it was cocaine, then it went to crack, became an addiction like no other. I talk about being up for like 8 days straight before my body just would give out at different points in that season of what I call the dark years. And it was really my best way of coping with what was going to be my inevitable demise at any point, right? That this disease was going to take me out. And so it seemed like a nice way to go, you know. When you're high and loaded, you just don't give a damn. Life is okay. Everything in life is okay, whatever happens. And so I went through that for about 10 years, a couple of efforts to go into recovery. I got a DUI. Of course, that acquainted me with the idea of recovery early on, but to make a commitment down the line, after encountering a doctor that I was seeing at the time, who would pray for me very unconventionally, pray for me during my office visits, and ask me when I was going to put the nail in the coffin, as she would say, in terms of quitting my addiction. Because I was convincing her that my drug use was medicinal. I was convinced that my drug use was absolutely medicinal, and I needed this to get through each day, to make each day. A day without drugs is a day without sunshine, I would tell her. And she would just laugh at me. And when she prayed, she would say that she saw great things for my life. And I was surprised because I wasn't seeing much of a life or future. I was only seeing death, to be honest. I mean, wasn't seeing. I mean, I had quit planning for the future. I mean, it was just going to be a matter of time. I mean, like, how long could I beat this thing? Well, I'll be darned if she talked about a training they were going to do, and she had said I needed to be clean and sober for 3 months, and that started me back into a recovery again for a 6-month period. And miraculously, I went through that training and got sort of reconnected to life and living in this most powerful, incredible way, like I hadn't experienced, and ever before. And like I wanted to live. And it was so exciting and invigorating. And I found a church that really loved me and embraced me as I am. Long Beach Christian Fellowship. I got to do a shout out for them, as I've now been there over 20 years. And we've now gone from what was a very welcoming church to now an affirming place, which is huge. Change from where we were. And I've got to take my recovery life and be who I am in a place and space that I've been a part of for 20 years. And this recovery thing has really blown my mind to say today I'm 21 years clean and sober. And I'm still alive, dang it. Don't know why. Go figure. There's a plan. God's up to something. And I don't know what the heck it was. And, side note, this past year, I always say this past year, 2023 has been such a rough health year for those that have followed me on social media. Mm-hmm. Almost died a couple of times. And it wasn't even the HIV thing that's taking me out. It's other things, right? And I am shocked and amazed that the journey's still not over. 2024 is obviously starting out very well. This is the longest I've been out of the hospital, which is miraculous. Yes. But God's up to something again. And I love this. I'm so mindful and so honored and so humbled. And it's like, okay, I surrender to the power of that. It's no surprise that I am here, I believe, to do his work. And part of that work is doing stuff like this, where I get to put a face and a name to a story about Black folks like myself who are living with HIV. I mean, that's the research I do, talk about HIV in the Black community. I'm going to switch my research hat on for a minute because
Go ahead.
Talking to someone yesterday and talking about the disproportionate numbers of HIV in the Black community. We're almost half of the new HIV infections. Still, in 2024, we're almost accounting for half the new HIV infections in our community, yet we're only 13% of the population. Something is seriously wrong. Something is seriously wrong. And I've been doing HIV prevention work in our community, faith-based. Usually I target faith-based communities we were targeting initially. But we're still accounting for half these new infections, and people are either unaware or it's something we don't talk about. And I believe part of it is it's religion still, the Black church, and how they navigate conversations about folks who are saying gender loving, folks who are drug users. Again, the marginalized, the folks we should be reaching out to and loving on, I say, if you want to frame them that way. I don't frame them that way. I just say, hey, they're people that are part of the world, homeless, right? We want to preach to those who look like us and have ourselves all together versus those that are out there struggling and needy. And it's not what God, in my mind, it's not what Jesus would do.
Absolutely. Austin, I'm so happy that you did bring your research in, and just, I know on this platform we talk a lot, and other guest hosts bring to the forefront these issues of the disparate care, disparate outcomes of the African American population. So thank you. And I do want to circle back and mention Dr. Becky Kim. She is the one that you mentioned, the physician who prayed for you, who believed in you. So there are um, healthcare professionals within our realm, within our reach, who do care, and you are a testimony of how that can come about. And I assume I don't know the ethnicity of Dr. Becky Kim, and I don't know.
White woman. Dr. Becky's white woman. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And so you are a testament to the fact that there are professionals in our sphere who do care and who will and continue to make a difference in our life. And you talk about prayer too, that this physician prayed for you and she saw what you couldn't see in yourself. She saw your future. So she manifested. She helped you manifest.
I like that.
Yeah, your future. So
really good.
let's
You're right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I want to show, I'm all in the visuals. And so I want to get to becoming Austin Nation. And and so let me just try to do this. So tell me about this scene. How did this theatrical, magnificent piece of art in your play, one person show, come about? And then I'm going to show you some images.
Okay.
And ask you to drop into that and share with the audience. And before I do that, I just want to say to those viewers who have just joined us that we are with these magnificent and many times hilarious. See, he's been kind of serious, but now we're going to get into his funny, hilarious part. As he tells a very heart warming story of his journey and recovery, which is just incredible. But this is the magnificent Dr. Austin Nation from the play, and it had been on off Broadway. It was on off Broadway last summer, and is becoming Austin Nation. And finish the title, Austin.
From Crack to PhD. A drag queen story.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's what we call it. Yay.
Yes. Okay. So tell us, I'm going to show you just a few scenes. Yeah. So just tell us.
Yeah.
Beginning. Uh-huh.
Well, it's interesting because I like to say when you see the show or hear the story, it's an emotional roller coaster, highs and lows, and the fun, frivolous moments that I throw into the show, so that it's not all serious. So this is a serious story, but I like to add to lighten it up at different places and points in the story. I go from being a homeless person to transforming into my drag persona, Africa Nature, sort of my alter ego, right in front of you. I do this in front of the audience. Now, as I'm bearing my soul, honey, I'm bearing my whole being right there in front of you, doing this transformation into my alter ego, my drag persona. But it's quite lovely of a story. The feedback and the reviews from the critics have been amazing. I've been blown away, frankly, by all of the accolades. And we follow the show up with a Q&A. So in real time, people get to debrief and talk about what they experienced during the show. But it's so fun for me to take people on this journey with me through this story, where I talk about all those moments that happen in the story. Many of them are, like I said, are very heavy, but some of them are lighter. I try to find those places and spaces in there where I can lighten up and throw in some humor. Particularly when I go into my drag persona, because then I can really, have some fun and play with the audience. Because I most of this, the idea is that when you're in the audience, you're actually in my dressing room. So as I'm changing, I'm talking to you as if you're in my dressing room. There's not what's what we call breaking the fourth wall. So I'm talking to you. Half the time, the audience is talking back to me, which is kind of funny. And that's I have to respond in those moments. It almost feels like a bit of an improv sometimes, but it's quite a joy that people are so engaged in there. And then there's moments where I can hear a pin drop, that it's so quiet, and people are hearing those moments. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, frankly.
So, Austin, can you or would you share a moment in the performance that is funny?
That's what I was trying. That's a great question, and I was trying to. I knew you were going to ask me that because you want some of the hilarious points, and I was trying to think of what's my hilarious moment in the show.
Well, I can refrain. I'm going to reframe the question.
Okay.
Share with us. You can share hilarious, or share a moment that you always remember in the show, and it may change from performance to performance. But what's the first thing that your heart says that you should share?
I think for me, what's funny, the funniest part for me, I think, is the opening. Because I guess it's when I come in and I get to play with the audience. Without giving a complete spoiler, but I come in. Well, I guess I have to give a complete spoiler to give a context because it's really more improv. So I'm coming in to the audience and I'm panhandling. I'm homeless. So people don't know that, or they do know that, and yet I get to have fun and I'm begging for money. Hey, you have $1? I haven't had nothing to eat. Can you help a brother out? Oh, I know you're rich. I know you're loaded. Oh, thank you, kind ma'am. Thank you, kind sir. I know you got a lot of money. I know you can help me out. Just having fun with the audience. I think that sets the tone coming up. One of my other favorite moments, as I'm thinking about it, is I talk about our move from Milwaukee to sunny California, sunshine, palm trees, and I talk about Beverly Hills. And then we get Beverly Hillbilly music playing, and I do my little Beverly Hillbilly dance, and everybody cracks up. It's because I think it throws people off that I throw this song into a place in my story. I think everybody's familiar with Beverly Hillbillies, and this song comes on, and I get up and I'm doing my little shtick. It's another funny moment for me in the show. I think those two stand out that are on my heart. I think those are the most interactive places in my story.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
Awesome.
several. Huh?
Yes. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay. All right. I got so excited because I haven't had the privilege of seeing your show in person, but I did watch the tape of it. And I was just on the edge of my seat. Sometimes I was crying. Sometimes I was laughing. Sometimes I was just shocked. And it just takes the audience, takes the viewer through a wonderful array of emotions. I felt like I was in Milwaukee, in the bar. I felt like I was on the street with you when you were on the street. I felt like I was in the hospital bed when you described it. But this pose is so telling. And one of the quotes at the end, and that's when I really started crying, is you took it from Nina Simone. May I share it? Or
yeah, please.
Okay. You took it from a 1966 quote from the late great Nina Simone, and it's, "You've got to learn to leave the table when love is no longer being served." And that was so profound. So can you or would you share with us an experience from your life that illustrates this profound quote?
I oh, I'm being recorded for this.
Okay, well then we don't have to go there.
I'm gonna put it out there just because you asked me to. Because one of the places and spaces where one of the tables I needed to get up from, there's two that come to mind immediately.
Mm-hmm.
One is I belong to a community-based organization. I'm a community-based researcher. I'll start there with that one. Community-based researcher, been a part of this organization. They were an organization here in Orange County that served me for many years as a client. I started doing outreach for them, doing the HIV prevention education for them. I've been connected with this agency since 1997. As I became professional, I wanted to give back. I put them in my will. I became a donor. I just started doing all of this stuff. And I started taking students there. It became a clinical site for our students because it was important to me in my life that I would introduce a group of students to LGBT healthcare. That we have a group of students from our university that were exposed to HIV and LGBT healthcare to raise the next generation of folks who are at least exposed to LGBT health, to bring down some of that stigma, and so we can get better outcomes in our community. And it was really for me and them transformational, life changing for many of these students who never had been in places and spaces with LGBT folks. Well, then I would send them messages, say to the CEO, for example, or the medical director, and I wouldn't get responses back about questions or concerns or things related to the research project we had worked on. And that happened on more than one occasion. And so I decided that this was one of the tables I needed to get up from, that love was no longer being served for me. And so I wrote them an email because one of the board members I had saw at a theater event said, "Oh, you should be on the board." And I'm like, well, no, I can't even get them to respond to me like I'm a human being. Something's wrong with that picture. I guess he went back and told them, because I then got an email from the executive director requesting to have lunch. Let's get together. I'm so sorry. I thought so-and-so responded back to you, blah, 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 blah. Well, it wasn't just one email. It was several emails, including messages to him. Long story short now, just recently, as I have removed myself over the last few years and took them off the wheel, he has now come back around to saying, one, they sponsored the show. The last show I did 3 performances in Long Beach Playhouse in January. That was my first show of the 2024. 3 performances. They were a sponsor. They sponsored me, and not only sponsored me, but showed up in big numbers. I was shocked, surprised, and touched. I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe this is God's way of telling me to give this a second chance. Then he messages me afterwards, and I sent a thank you, saying we need to get together. Today they want me on the board. Now, of course, I say I have to think about it because I'm not sure that's a table that will serve the love based on history. But I have to pray into this one to figure out where this is going, to be honest. But it's very surprising how this has transpired over the last. I've been back in Southern California now for 7-8 years, and so I'm not sure. But I'm much freer getting up from tables when that love feels like it's gone. Second one I'll share is my place of employment. And I'll just be rather candid since you're asking me to do it. I have had to file complaints around racism, sexism, homophobia in my place of employment. Primarily, as you know, we're talking today about wellness and all of that, particularly emotional wellness. Nursing is still primarily white women. And I thought, you and I went to a great school in the country, one of the best schools in the country, CSF. And shout out to UCSF, which was also not a great experience, just some of the same stuff I experienced there as well. And I thought at this level, at this point, once we earned our wings, so to speak, we would be treated on par with these colleagues. And that's not what's happening in many of the spaces and places that I've been, including my employer. And it's gone from bad to worse after the George Floyd incident. After I was pulled into to being the face of DEI, then I was kind of discarded now and treated like a second class citizen, and it's not nice. So I put my foot down.
Mhm.
I put my foot down on it
Mhm.
and have pressed the complaint, and it's going through the process. But
Mhm.
it's a place now. Then I got a granted sabbatical, so I'm on a leave now for a year, and now I'm also now on medical leave. But I get to reponder if
Mhm.
after being there 7 8 years and a two-time alumni, if
Mhm.
this and I was so excited to go back to my alma mater because this is a place that obviously nurtured and groomed me, and this same person who I'm alleging my complaint against
Mhm.
was my mentor as a student who I absolutely adored. And she's changed her stripes, or I'm seeing her true stripes. I'm not sure what it is. Somebody referenced it that she had white savior syndrome, which I had to read up on to see what that was about. And so it's now that I'm not a student, I'm a colleague with a degree from a very reputable university. I don't need her the same way as I did back in the day. And I guess that shifts the dynamic. So it's been a learning for me and a really eye-opening experience. But it's sad and it's painful nonetheless to discover these kinds of things are going on in our healthcare world, which probably impacts our patients as well in terms of their outcomes.
Well, you see what you're embracing that quote has done is given context to this experience of being marginalized, being treated in ways that are clearly not acceptable. So, I'm listening to you. As you know, as you can see, I'm giving you very little prompts, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh, we got to talk about that in the next show. Oh, Austin has to come back, and we got to talk about this and that. But what I want to say is thank you for being so transparent and vulnerable as it relates to when you need to get up from the table when love is no longer served. And so, for those viewers who have just joined us, this is typically a half-hour show, but we have so much going on with Dr. Austin Nation, and we haven't even talked about his journey from crack to PhD. So that's going to be another show. Austin, I'm gonna have to bring you back. What I want to do though is I'm going to show you more of yourself, and if you could just give us a little backdrop of when this appearance, in
Ah,
what context you were using, this appearance.
that picture there, that's a bucket list dream. I got to perform at Hamburger Mary's, which is a very famous bar restaurant here in Southern California. They have several of them. I got to perform at Long Beach. I won second place that night. I usually place in top five, but that was one of my most favorite nights there. That was such a joy to get out and perform my signature number, which is the number I close the show with. It's "I'm Here." And I do the Fantasia Barrino version of that because it's such a powerful song. And it's a testament to my life that I'm here. I'm here. I am here. I love that song. I love that costume. Love that wig. It's one of my favorites, frankly. And I always get such a great response from the audience with that song and that outfit. So that was a great night. That was a fun night. Yeah.
Can you sing a cappella?
I can't. That song I can sing. I do sing in the show. I do hum a little bit of my song. The
Can
song. What do you want me to do?
I wanted you to just sing one of the chorus or one of the verse, anything, or just a line that reminds you so endearingly about that role. But again, I'm asking you, I didn't prep you for this. So,
I know you didn't. You getting me. Let's see it. I've got my sister. I can feel her now. She may not be here, but she's still mine, and I know Mm.
Oh,
She still loves me. Yeah,
wonderful, Austin.
a little
Wonderful.
taste.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what about this?
Oh, a drag competition. That was drag. That was my first time entering a local drag search competition.
Mhm.
That was a really cool night. That was a custom made ball gown. That's one of my favorites. Another
Mhm.
favorite gown. I'm now getting custom gowns now, which was nice. Before I was doing stuff off Amazon and thrift stores and stuff like that. I've taken my drag sort of to a new level and
Mhm.
getting these, custom wigs and all this other stuff to really refine this drag persona and take to the next level, as I say. And it's really great for me because I'm 6'2", 240 pounds.
Mhm.
So to feminize all of that, oh, that's Matina Turner, right? Oh my God, you got the good shots. You bringing up the good stuff now. Oh yeah. So that's another fabulous custom made outfit. I can't wait to bring that one on. There's a couple of numbers here I have yet to do, but I'm so right now immersed in my show. I haven't given a drag performance in a while.
Mhm. Mhm.
Got
So,
to that, but that's a quality problem as I see it. Yeah.
what's your next show?
Well, it's supposed to be this. They're asking me to take this show up to CSU Stanislaus, up by Turlock, up in wherever that is, up north, mid California, up by Sacramento, somewhere
Uh-huh.
south of San Francisco, up there somewhere.
Uh,
We're talking about this. We've been in the planning stages for this show to become a TV movie. I'm with a writer who was involved. If any of you know the Jeffrey Dahmer story that
mhm.
came out of Milwaukee,
Mhm.
that last movie documentary that came out, one of the writers from there is a relative of mine. He's married to my cousin. So when I went back for a funeral where there's having, he had said he had been watching my stuff on Facebook and he's very interested in my story. And he says that he's talked to a couple of people and they're interested in it. And so we're in the midst of putting it together. So I'm like, oh, here we
Well,
go.
okay. I didn't know about that, Mr. Hollywood. Okay.
I'm just saying, you heard it here first. You knew me when. That's what he says too. I'm like, okay, all right. I
is,
feel you.
is that what he says?
He goes,
Oh,
your life is going to change. Get ready.
yeah.
I'm going, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Well, Austin, your life has been evolving and changing. And, I don't know if you manifested this for your life, but it is just incredible what has happened to you. And even becoming a doctorally prepared nurse, that's a whole another journey. And I'd like to bring you back during Nurses Month to tell that story. So, um, is there anything that, because I did ask you a lot of things that you didn't expect, but is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to share as a closing thought with our viewers?
No, this is actually very good. Thank you. And I like being spontaneous and spur of the moment. So this has actually kept me on my toes. Thank you.
Okay, all
Um,
right. So,
I do have a charge for your audience. I leave them,
okay.
all of you, with a thought. My favorite phrase is live, laugh, and love. And I try to live by that. And I would put a charge out there as you opened up with a wonderful meditation for us, that people who are listening to this are mindful of the importance to do those three things: live, laugh, and love. Embrace each day to the fullest. That's my mantra, particularly because I'm so keenly aware of how precious each day is that I'm given. I don't take it for granted anymore, particularly after last year. I've ramped it up a bit more than I have before, and then try to take care of myself. But laughing and loving with those who are loving me and returning that back, right? At tables where love is being served, I frequent those places and spaces, right? And I don't take those for granted either, because finding people who truly connect and love on me the way that I need, and for me to be able to reciprocate that, is a precious gift. It doesn't happen in every place and space, places and spaces where I wish it would happen, it's not always there. So where it does happen, I am very mindful of, and I want to return to those on a very regular, conscious basis that
Mhm.
I show up and how I show up. Right. So
Mhm.
live, laugh, love. Live, laugh,
Live,
love.
live, laugh, love. Well, thank you, Austin. And as I close the show, I would like to close it with affirmations that help you to become more gritty in life. Because Austin has, and just sharing part, I mean, we just got a slice of the pie of his life. But he has shown the grit. And what is grit? Grit is a personality trait that some individuals possess, and those individuals demonstrate passion and perseverance towards a goal despite being confronted with significant challenges, obstacles, and even distractions. So I invite you, I chose 10 affirmations, and they're positive affirmations to help us to embrace there's different thoughts about whether you're born with grit or you can learn it. But I'm of the mindset that you really can learn anything. You can really embrace if you put your energy to it. So I invite you to say these positive affirmations. I'm going to say it, and then you say it. So I'll say it in a normal voice, and then I'll whisper it so you can say it along with me. And there are a total of 8 affirmations. So here we go. The other is you can lower your gaze or close your eyes, because then you focus on the words, but you don't have to. Okay, so here we go. I am constantly striving to be stronger and better. I am constantly striving to be stronger and better. I am anchored in strength, even in storms. I am anchored in strength, even in storms. I am mentally tough, ready to conquer any obstacle. I am mentally tough, ready to conquer any obstacle. I am resilient, always bouncing back stronger. I am resilient, always bouncing back stronger. So we have 4 more to go. I am self-confident, believing in my worth and value. I am self-confident, believing in my worth and value. I am fearless, ready to take on any challenge. I am fearless, ready to take on any challenge. I am a symbol of strength, inspiring others with my journey. I am a symbol of strength, inspiring others with my journey. And the last one is I am unstoppable, drawing from my wealth of wisdom and willpower. I am unstoppable, drawing from my wealth of wisdom and willpower. So, viewers, I again want to thank you for joining Dr. Austin Nation and I on this journey today. And I ask that you join me every first and third Sunday right here for more riveting stress management stories, life promoting stories right here. And Dr. Austin, it was a pleasure. And right now, I'm going to drop into the chat information about how they can see your future shows or contact you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to you now. And I wish you love and light until I see you again.